I'll call the Monday, June 8th work session to order. On the consent agenda, I didn't see anything in there. Does anybody have any questions about the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll move on to the superintendent's report.
I don't have a whole lot this evening other than technology update. I know Brian had ordered the student devices, Surface 3s last week, and we will wait till Wednesday and see whether we can get those through the Microsoft Office store. If they get their state contract worked out, we will order them from them. If not, we'll just go through CDWG, and same way with the desktops. But all of those things are ordered. All the iPads are ordered and should start being delivered. They were shipped, so it's going to be a busy time.
Okay.
That's about it for my report this evening anyway.
Okay, and then Tracy, the financial report.
I will let you know, I mean, she is sick tonight.
Okay.
She was very sick right before the meeting here, but the notes that she had that I picked up here, just talking about end of the year, wrapping up, getting all the information together. Payroll for July and August will run in June. That hasn't been done yet, but after that date, then we will have a very good figure on what needs to be transferred and those things, and we'll bring those figures back to you. Let's see, on the exceptions, on item 1 in the May report, there was on, let me find it, exception, it's, yeah, on the first page. What we did was wrote the purchase order for all of the iPads. I mean, and that's actually financed through Apple. So we canceled that after we had already told them that we're going to purchase them, but they needed the purchase order. So that number's been changed now to what the first payment is, and that is not in the red as it shows. There's a couple other examples as we go down. She put a note here on number 7, retiree recognition is overdue due to more retirements than and it's not a big number than were anticipated. And then 10, 11, and 13, Head Start needed new computers for their staff, and will forego spending in other lines to cover the cost. Number 14 is a reallocation of Head Start playground equipment that'll be covered by the grant money that Donna will get. Let's see, I guess any questions there, and when we have our meeting next Monday, if you have specific questions, she will be here to answer. But if you have other questions, I'll try to answer them and make sure she understands what they are.
Okay.
So with that grant money, do we add it in here, or that's one of those adjustments we can't make in this sheet?
That'll be, I mean, is it added in?
Under her Head Start here?
My guess is it will be. I don't know when she actually receives it, but
Okay.
yeah. That, good question for her to give you her answer, but that would be my guess. That'll go directly in Donna's account and not in ours. The next item, if you want to pull up this one, is the general fund and LOB increases that we've put together. We added the reduction in the workbook material fees that we talked about by reducing that. That was $50,184. Increase in sick leave payout, that was $100,000. Increased retiree health, $67,800. All of those things have been figured in, and that was $423,969. And then you can see the savings, special ed transfer. We're not a year behind that in that, so we will have that money at the beginning of the year instead of sending that directly to special ed co-op. Staff, that number's $38,800 higher. We had another retirement today that we'll see, I'm sure, savings on. I think that's going to be pretty accurate then. Trying to think if there was anything else that changed on that. I don't believe so. So you can see final effect on budget right now is $401,000, and we will know a little bit more well, obviously we'll have to find a replacement teacher, but my guess is it will be cheaper and all that will be figured in there. Let me see if she had any other. One thing, I guess our special ed assessment then went down over $8,000. Is that right, Mark? Yeah, $8,590, and our fee is the same. So there's another savings that isn't included in here anywhere either, what we would normally pay for special ed. And there'll be some other things coming up like that as well as we go through budget. So still feeling pretty good about where we are budget-wise. So.
Have you heard anything more, Dean? I saw the KSB note that came out talking about the block grant stuff where they said there may be a cut of like $300 and some per student.
You know, I wish I knew, Lance. They're meeting right now. The House is. It didn't sound like they were going to pass what the Senate did last night. The big threat now is that they will do allotments. What that equates to, I don't know. At one time they said, when they were bantering back and forth about what they would do, raise taxes or make cuts. At one time there was a 6% cuts, and then it was 5.25, and then it was 2%. And none of that was in the bill that the Senate passed. But if the House doesn't pass it, they start over. Honestly, I don't know where we're going to be. Obviously, that's a concern. But the thing, I'm hoping if they do make those, that it isn't on base state aid per pupil and it's on state aid. And that way it kind of protects us just like the other cut did, whereas we don't receive that much state aid. So we're waiting to see.
Dean, do you crunch those numbers when you hear kind of what they're thinking? I mean, if it comes through at the 6%, do you think that 6% they were throwing out would come to state aid?
They didn't say. I don't know. I mean,
It changed 5 times. in one
No,
day.
yeah,
I know.
it changes daily or hourly, but
Yeah.
yeah, we have an idea of what it would be. And I mean, right now, I don't know how you make a huge cut, any district, where all of the certified staff is already under contract. So it would be very difficult, but obviously it'd have to happen. That's why my guess is it may be state aid, or they'd have to do something. I don't know. Block grant, though, in general, looks like it, is going to remain the same, but wait and see. I don't know. I was hoping to know more by now. I was in Wichita Wednesday when they did the legislative update with Dale Dennis and several others, and they had no new information whatsoever, other than wait and see. We're obviously waiting on the budget software. I'm sure they've started some of it, but they don't have anything, so it's going to be a week or two before they would even have that out. So we will see. We will see some savings then, as we'll get to, in things like workers' comp, some of those things as well. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up at the end of the year. So. Any questions there? One question that people did ask early about when the governor and everyone was talking about furloughs, and all the universities sent out letters to their staff about non-essential staff. That does not apply to school districts. The state aid will still come in. Our money would still be there. USDs will not have to do furloughs. The caveat, it sounds like with the universities, that they'll say you don't have to do furloughs, but they have no means of paying those people when they do come in if something doesn't change. So it's a mess. Absolute mess.
Okay. Board member appreciation. Are you going to be here next week?
If I am, I'll be late.
Right?
Yeah.
and I'm a maybe, so,
Oh, really?
yeah. So, and I think James will be here for sure. But we'll do something on
I
that.
should be here, I'll just be late. I've got another meeting I've got to attend at 5:45. Should be over.
That's what I was going to talk about. Do we want to come at 6 and do something early? Well, not.
Obviously, that would be out.
Yeah, obviously not.
Well, we could, we talked about canceling the 29th work session. But
Do it then, so.
we could have something then. But we'll get to that on the calendar here
So
at a little later date.
you don't think you'll be here, Marty?
I know my daughter's flight got moved, and I think I'm going to be in Kansas City picking her up. So.
Okay.
And I didn't know that until about 10 minutes before I came to the meeting.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I'll have Sarah call and we will come up with something, but our intent, some shape or form, we will do reception and honor you guys for the service. And I think, Marty and James, 4 years, and Greg's been 12, so big accomplishment. But we will do something when we can, so
Okay.
we'll be contacting you. That kind of blew that out of the water.
All right, we'll move on.
Yes.
Okay, workers' compensation, and we talked a little bit about that today, Dean. And the KSAB option is the one that you're going to recommend?
That's what I'm going to recommend. I think what we had talked about before, adding the $2,500 deductible. You can see the proposals that Assurance put together. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about the same thing here. If you look at KASB with the $2,500 deductible, on the very bottom where it has annual premium and then estimated deductible expense based on 3-year average, they had increased, or the total cost they put down is $201,289. That was based on a 3-year average. But when you look at what we actually have spent this year, it's $9,600. And I don't see that being a whole lot different. I mean, we've done a very good job talking to staff, and everybody understands where we are. I don't see that going up a lot. So to me, the savings is there. If we change from that $2,500 deductible and we have to count every one of those small claims, I don't think we're going to see our mod factor go down to 1 or below. We're getting close, but that's going to take about 3 years. We would save over $50,000, I believe, if we figured it at $9,600, which we paid this year. Could be up a little bit or down, but what I would recommend that we approve on at the board meeting then would be that, leave the KASB $2,500 option. The other company, the QBE, does not have that option available. And then he had tried to get quotes from EMC Travelers and United Heartland, and none of them would give us a quote. She laid out some of the positives and negatives for each company. Checking with KASB, I mean, one of the concerns last time we talked about it was them having to do an assessment sometime. They are in very, very good shape. We just checked again today. They have no intention of doing an assessment now or anytime in the near future. So I don't think that's a big concern. And then if we do change, the experience mod factor would probably stay up there where we are. So I think in 3 years we have a chance to see some pretty big savings. So.
Yeah, I think with our experience that we've had this year, it should fall below 1.1. I would expect next year.
I agree, but I think we
Start
need
going
to
that way.
stick with this plan
Okay.
and see where we go. But that'll be my recommendation.
Any other questions from the board members?
And then they did approve, the state insurance department did approve the pool that we had applied for. They did approve that. on Friday, so.
Very good. And the next item, the approval of the federal meal program, that's the same thing that we vote on every year, just it has to be voted on by the board.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
routine item.
Okay. The Haze High School hallway lighting bids. Rusty, you want to come up?
I'm going to come up, and also while we were doing that, we were going to give you a little bit of update where we were with the cleaning out there too that we started this
All
year.
right.
So I had Jeff come along too to sit in with me. The lighting is basically the bid that we got a few months back to do the hallway lighting in high school. We opted instead to do some other areas, and we just tried out part of the hallway. We went ahead and done the gyms, both gyms, they're done. If you haven't had a chance to go out there, it was a good improvement to the gymnasiums, adding the lights there. We're ready to start looking at doing some of the hallways now, and I told you at that time I was going to bring this back to you to have it approved at this next board meeting. So that's basically what we're doing, is bringing it back in so that we can start that sometime in the July, August timeframe and sort of work through it.
So
Okay.
Rusty, what's the difference between total option 1, total option 2?
At the time, the options that we had there were dealing with doing part of the hallway and doing gyms, like finishing up the lobbyway in the area coming into the gymnasium, and then doing the gym lighting, and then doing some other areas. Well, we've done the gym, so it took all the options out. There's really just the one option now, is
All
just
right,
to do the
so all
hallway.
we've got is option 1 at this point.
Right.
Okay.
It's just the prices on option 1, and extra light is the lowest one.
And this still isn't all the hallways, it's only
No,
some?
this does all the hallways.
Okay, so hallways would be complete.
The hallways will be done now, the multipurpose room would be done, the lecture hall will be done, the gymnasiums will be done. The only thing that we have is like the office area and the classrooms, and at some point I'll be coming back with pricing for that. So,
Rusty, just so I guess I understand, and maybe you said this before, was there a reason that we did the gymnasiums instead of the classrooms in that first?
higher, faster payback. When they came in and were doing the study, we had two different groups come in, and they both looked at me and said, "You need to get your gym done. For the number of hours that you're using it, for the wattages that they are, you can pay these back in probably a year and a half to 2 years." So we're looking at some other gyms, just to let you know, because they said those were the highest paybacks. That technology, even though it was new technology not that long ago, is outdated technology now.
And you said you had some stuff on cleaning that you guys had started?
Yeah, if we can pull that up. The floor plan that you have in front of you is the high school, and I didn't put a legend with it. Jeff and I sort of threw that together this morning just to give you an idea. We went to group cleaning this year, to where we brought everybody in the district together except for just a few areas, and started cleaning. High school, there's been a few years since some of the floors there have been stripped, and one of the goals that when Jeff came on and I came on was to get those floors back into the condition that they should be. So we set out and took on a huge project. And basically what you're looking at here is the areas that are shaded in purple. Those areas are areas that are either shops, storerooms, or kitchens. They're areas that we don't clean for one reason or another. Either someone else is cleaning them, like the kitchens and the shops, or they're a storage area that just doesn't get cleaned. Then the blue, those areas there are not part of the restoration. They're going to be cleaned, and that's Gym A and B. And here in a couple weeks, we're going to be doing the cleaning in there, and then we'll also be doing the surface recoat on both of those gyms as far as putting down Gym B will actually be sanded and refinished just like Gym A, and then we're going to do the recoat on Gym B. Take that back, reverse it. Gym B is going to be sanded and finished, and Gym A will get the recoat.
Already?
And then,
Is it time already?
yep, we usually do them in the summer, and we knew that with the way we finished it and everything, that we would want to get another coat finish on that this summer, so it's in the schedule.
That's an annual thing, right?
Yeah, it'll be an annual thing, and we're taking it over. Part of what we're doing with Gym A, though, there's a certification class to actually to redo those floors, And I set up having the company come in, and they're going to help us do the floor and use it to recertify. Actually, even Jeff, that's doing Gen B, is going to send a couple of his guys over to get them certified and then certify our guys so that we can do it correctly and to train them on it. And then at the end of July, we'll go do the middle school floor. So it times out to be done right before practice starts on that part of it. So that's what the purple and blue are. If you go to the orange, you'll see the orange stripes. Those are areas that we're getting ready to move out and start. What we're doing is when we go into a room, we either pull all the furniture out of it. If it's carpeted room, they'll move it to the side. And the way we're cleaning them, they can clean one half of it, clean everything down to the floor, clean the carpet on one side, shift it, and then clean the other side. If it's a waxed floor, we're taking everything completely out. There's one group that's going in and they're pulling all the furniture out and cleaning the room from the ceiling down to the floor. And then there's another group that's doing floors, whether it be carpet, which is a group of two different groups, or hard surface floor, the wax floors, which is 2 other groups. And then the night crew is coming back and putting everything back in. So we've got sort of just a assembly line process going, and it's going pretty good. So everything that's in orange is the areas that we're looking at pulling out yet this week and having cleaned sometime this week. The areas that are shading yellow, and they're a little tougher to see, are basically areas that we've already pulled the furniture out. We've actually cleaned the room and the floors are done. We just haven't got the furniture and stuff back in them. And then the areas that you see shaded in green, all those areas are completed, totally complete. Jeff and I are thinking we're about a week ahead of where we thought we were going to be, and actually by the end of this week we should be able to release the carpet crews to go start another building. And we were really thinking we were going to do that the week after this.
So this will happen across the district?
This is happening this way across the district.
Will you get them all done this summer?
Yep.
So in the case of carpet, are you shampooing the carpet when you say cleaning them?
Well, we have a new system that is a dry cleaning system, and I think you're going to be talking about Lincoln here. That's where I think you're going. It's not the 100% fix-all carpet system. It is a system that is good for removing dirts and stains and cleaning that way. But when you have like urns and stuff that are into the carpet, you put them in as a liquid, you're going to have to get them out as a liquid. And I think that's part of the training on recognizing the equipment. I went and looked at those carpets. The one's only a year old. So you know, I'm not in favor of replacing that by any means, and the other one's only like 4 years old. So I think we've done the wrong process, basically having a new piece of equipment and thinking it was going to do that. I checked with the manufacturer and the person that I sold it with, and there is a product that you can use with it, but we both agreed that we've already got wet extraction equipment here, and that would be a better process. So I talked with Randy today over about the Lincoln situation and basically said, let's go back in, let's go ahead and do liquid extraction, go ahead and extract it. We've got some, I just blanked the term for them, but basically odor eliminators that we can go back and rinse it out with. And then we're going to use the dry method just basically to pull the mat back up. So it's going to be about a 3-step process to do it, but I think we can get it pretty done and get that taken care of without having to replace the carpet.
So what's happened in the past? Does anybody know? I mean, have we undergone this kind of cleaning effort every summer?
Well, I think Rusty and I was going to, sorry to jump in, but your comment earlier, which I'm sure was very nice, but you said it's been a few years since we've done it. I mean, that would be like never.
When I saw the pictures
Or
of band, I
ever.
was thinking,
That's a safe answer.
We asked Steve about a couple of the rooms, and he said Steve's been there 15 years. And he said he'd never seen them done before, so.
Are you talking like wax floors or just anything?
Yeah, they hadn't been stripped in a number of years. And there was some areas, the band room was probably the worst one. I mean, it was by far the worst that I've seen. There's some others, but there's, you know, I think there was a lot of misconception on the floor, and the condition of the tile and stuff, and just different things into it. So we're putting a pretty good effort into it. Jeff will attest to that, getting it straightened up. It's not going to be near that effort every year, because once we get them stripped, if we get a rotation, typically you strip a floor every 4 to 5 years. Now there's some areas you're going to strip more often than that because of the wear on them and stuff, and there's going to be some you can go a little bit longer, but 15 years might be pushing.
Are you gonna have a regular maintenance cycle then, as far as
We're working on that.
buffing them and all that stuff?
That's something that we're basically looking at 3 different districts that I've been involved with, is what we're trying to make our model off of. And Jeff went with me to Hutchinson and looked at some really good ideas of what they're doing and how they're setting up their shifts, the cleaning techniques that they're using and that kind of thing. And we've got the ideas now, we're trying to implement them and teach them into the district, and the next thing is basically getting them written into a procedure so that we have them.
Is that your standard clean?
That's our standard of clean, that's where we're looking at, and that's what we're working on right now as far as getting it established so that we can bring it to you then.
What about carpets? I mean, you have a life cycle for carpets.
Carpets have a life cycle. I basically, one of the things that I've done it at Scott, Hutchinson does it, I like how they do it actually better. Each one of their lead custodians, they actually give them a form that's already pre-made out. They go through, they highlight the areas that they think they need to strip, the areas that they think they need to clean, and so on. Carpet replacement, any places that they feel like they need to paint, and that's all done like in February so that you have a plan when you come into the summer. And that's something that we're going to try to work on this year as we go that direction, to get those in their hands and implement something like that. And carpets will be in that. I know one carpet for sure that is shot, that I'm going to have replaced, and then as I go through, I'm sure I'm going to run into some others. So.
And then does that help you set a budget for the next year for what you're gonna need?
It would. I've sort of set a carpet budget, but I sort of want to see what I've got. I may be low, I may be high, I don't know, but I basically want to see what I've got. I was hoping last year that, and Jeff can attest to that, I was hoping last year to actually, when I first got here, just go work in the buildings and not do any of the other stuff, just to get a feel for what was in the buildings and cleaning and that kind of thing. And that never worked out because I just never got the time. I sort of came in and hit the floor running and didn't get a chance to get out. So this summer's that chance, and that's what I'm doing. I've been working with the crews out there and try to get into all the buildings this year. Anything on that?
No, it's really nice that Rusty came up with a plan. Everybody's pulling in one direction, and it's amazing the amount of work we were able to get done when everybody works together and pulls in the same direction. I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised when it's all.
Does this plan allow you to do the rollback on the thermostats by building?
We could. I mean, that's something that we've tried to do because we're not all, we're in one building and we can shut that building down as we go into the next building. So yeah, it should help with that too. I think the other thing is we're getting a lot more buy-in. There was a lot of skepticism from the staff when we first started, but I think we're getting more buy-in with that.
Things were done a certain way for so many years, and Rusty, he came in and changed things, and we all were kind of like, I don't know about this, but it's worked out, and I think it's going to get even better.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Rusty, for your leadership on this, because I think this all
Well,
flows back to you, and Jeff, I know, has helped.
I was going to say, he's given me credit, but he's got a lot of credit coming to himself.
This concept has been talked about was talked about years and years ago, and couldn't be done. And obviously it can be, and to be able to do all of that maintenance over one summer is pretty amazing.
Now, we're not going to, I don't want you to have the perception we're going to get all the floors in the district stripped. That's not going to happen this summer.
Even if you get half of it done, or a building, and start on another.
And it's at least a
Just-
plan.
You've got a long-range plan on how it's going to happen, and
We're our intent is to do the high school this year, and then maybe 2 of the elementaries, and then 2 more of the elementaries, and then the middle school, and then we can just go back and keep rotating through, and that'll give us about our 4-year cycle.
And it won't take anywhere near as long. I think you guys have had to put up to 4 coats of stripper on.
Yeah, a couple places 5.
So, it's been, well, you can see the picture, and it, yeah, it was a lot of work.
They won't let her get the floors to do.
Yeah, made a huge difference. It's a lot brighter, I can tell you that.
Well, we can go right into the trash and recycling.
Yep.
Rusty, you're ahead of that too, since I got you up here.
Well, I am and I ain't on this one. This is one of those reoccurring ones, and actually Sarah and Jen done more legwork on this one than I did. Jen had put it out for bid, it was a reoccurring, or she was gonna put it out for bid. We went back and talked to Ideal, and they were the only ones that bid last year, and you can see sort of where we're at with them as far as, they lowered their costs some last year, you can see what they're talking about for this year, and based on where we're at, it's gonna be my recommendation. So I guess if you have any questions on it.
Who did we send that out to? Just them, or was there?
We didn't send it this
out.
year. We were just gonna renew the contract with them. Last year, we sent it to, let me see if I have it, Greg,
Well, I think you had a couple last year, and then one of them's gone, if I remember.
and they, yeah, and no one else had turned
I
in.
think you have a new
bid.
company now.
Are we obligated to send it out?
I don't know.
I don't think for services we are. Yeah.
And the Gem A roof repair, how's that coming along?
They've got all the temporary work done, so it's at least spring tight. Basically, you should have the proposals and what the insurance is gonna do, and it's basically just going ahead and approving the work, letting you
And
know that it's there.
the adjuster said that they were gonna cover most of, from what I looked at there, that they're gonna be
The
able to.
adjuster came in just, I don't remember what it was, it was just like a few $100s above what the proposal was for everything. And then we'll have the $5,000 deductible that'll come out of that. So I think it was like $116,000, and I think it was right around $115,000 for all the work. So take basically 5 off of that, and you're gonna be at about $110,000 is what the insurance is gonna pay, and we're gonna be out $5,000.
And it was wind damage, is that
It was
what
wind
peeled
damage.
it up, and moved it up?
It was my huge.
Okay.
What percentage of that building does that represent?
It represents Jim and Ray.
What is that, how much of that is that?
I mean, as far as percentage?
Yeah.
I don't know, I couldn't tell you. I can find that out for the board meeting.
Well, it's not, I was just curious, because I know at one point we were, like, that roof was getting done in 5 segments, so. I'd like to have your roof blown off, but it's probably very beneficial to us.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the areas we were looking at right away as far as replacement, but it was definitely well out of warranty, and it was definitely one that could be replaced, so, yeah.
Is it mostly EPDM on the high school?
That's correct, fully here.
Oh, that's.
When it got under it, it popped all, it was loose almost clear across it.
The rest of the sections on the high school though, is EPDM the predominant?
And that's
Roofing
pretty
membrane on the high school
throughout this
everywhere.
district, yeah.
What do we have done, the band area? Is that right? What was just done? The band area, I think.
Band
or-
and dressing rooms.
Yeah. And then, I don't know what scheduled or where we are, the rest of it.
You got me lost now.
It was probably before you started.
I was gonna say,
When it actually
I don't
started.
know.
That was, yeah.
Once again, I want to thank Rusty and your staff for everything
Yeah,
you've done since you've been
absolutely. Thank you,
here.
No
guys.
problem. Thank
You've done a
you.
wonderful job.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Moving on to the approval of student and staff handbooks. I looked through some of that today, Dean, there's a lot there. Anything that you wanted to really highlight in there that was a
You know, a
big
lot of
change,
it's
or-
technology, language changes, and of course, all the updates on new board members, on calendar dates, those types of things. The staff handbook hasn't changed a lot. Marty, do you have anything you want to throw out on your high school one? Just pretty routine things, really. I mean, it is a lot, but a lot of technology, I think.
Okay, and then the board meeting schedule. Yeah, that was probably a good idea, with the approval of student and staff handbooks. Do we want to wait to vote on that until after the negotiations are over?
At least the staff ones.
The staff one we can do anytime.
I would just think, I mean, whatever happens out of that should have drastic effect on that, or could, and depending on.
Yeah, we might want to take that off the agenda, at least the staff one, for the next meeting. And that'll lead us into the board meeting schedule on 15 and 16. That schedule you showed us at the last work session, has anything changed on it?
Instead of on the July 6th, I think it was listed as a special notice, but that's the one that we'll have to take action on electing a president, vice president, all those. So it's really a regular board meeting and not a special meeting. So we will change that to the language of it. Now, we were scheduled to have a work session on June 29th. And that's what I wanted to visit about. Do we need to have that meeting? But then again, we want to be able to honor our board members that are going off. So
Yeah.
if we're not going to have people here on next Monday, then so I mean.
Okay, well, we'll leave it alone, and I'll probably need to step down tonight as vice president if I'm not here. If I'm not here, that way you guys can elect a vice president to take over on that next meeting.
At least give some president or somebody to run the meeting.
You know, if James is running the meeting, if this board elects a vice president, at least they'll have somebody take over to run that meeting on July 7th.
So
6th.
on the agenda for Monday, then that would be in addition to,
You could just
I mean, how does that work?
put it in the consent agenda.
Or I just put it at the end, it'd be the last thing to do. Or you can do it at consent too.
You can either do it in the consent or at the end of the meeting, just resign my post if I'm not here, and that way the board can go ahead and vote
Okay.
in another vice president at that time.
James is gonna be here.
Yeah, James won't be here. So,
You resign your post if you're not here.
I can if I say I am.
He can send a letter, I guess.
Or James can call me on the phone and I can resign.
So you can do it at the end of tonight before you adjourn.
Okay,
Okay.
and the facility needs bond issue, you want to talk just a little bit about getting the new board set
Yeah,
up?
kind of what the plan is with the board members that are going to be on here, and then there's two new ones in the audience, and I want to engage you guys in the conversation about thoughts on what we need to be doing for facility needs and bond issue. We had probably, about 2 years of study. Is that an exaggeration? I think it was about 2 years. And came up with all the things that we were identified by the committee and architects, engineers, everyone. And we kind of tabled this after the committee came and did their presentation on where we are. The recommendation, or what they identified, was about $100 million, and then looking at economy, everything, we decided, well, we probably need to wait and look and see where we are. I think it's time that we look and see where we are now and try to come up with a plan, at least bring it back up in the forefront of everyone. We do not have an election in November, a regular election, so, really we wouldn't have time, I don't think, now by saying, oh, we're going to do a November election. So we would have to call a special election anyway. Sometime, if we want to next year, we need to have that meeting. My suggestion is architect, the finance bond folks come in from Piper Jaffray and sit down and have those discussions, and have the board make a determination of what we are looking for. And there's all kinds of options, obviously. I mean, identify what some of the most important things are. Is it safe rooms? You know, what is it, and how do we go forward? As Rusty had talked about before, you know, there's no way we're going to get caught up on infrastructure just through capital outlay. So, I mean, we're making huge progress, we really are, but it's not going to, we can't get it all. So my thought, I think we just need to have, whether it's a special meeting or sometime, just sit down and have that conversation with those folks and identify kind of what we want and then start that process. If we want to go forward with some sort of bond issue, we need to get people involved and start recruiting, you know, public folks, all of that, and then obviously hit the schools and site councils and all of that. And when we first started talking about this, I did go to a couple site councils and had conversations with them, and there was a lot of excitement there. I think we're going to continue to see that when you really look and see what each building gets. Now, obviously, it's going to change a little bit since we closed the Washington site as an elementary and transformed that into the early childhood center. And in the first plan we had was to build that onto Wilson, the early childhood center. So some things are going to change, obviously, but we just need to have that conversation. So my thought is we need to have at least those two, the architect and finance people, come and walk us through the process anyway and help us identify what direction we want to go. My question then, is that a work session item, or is that just a special meeting to where we talk about that one issue for an hour, 2 hours, whatever?
I don't think one meeting's gonna get it.
No, no,
I mean,
I
I sat through all of those, and I mean, there was a lot of debate and discussion.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say all of them, I missed 2 or 3, but they, and several other board members did too. I just think the problem you're gonna have is to go into, the finance guy is gonna be great, because he can tell you what the numbers are, but you really don't need him. All you need is his report. I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory what the numbers equal out to. You know, that he can try and pitch the sales tax thing, but that's gonna be a tough start to go down that road. But
I agree.
But the rest of it, I mean, $100 million came back as what they determined were the needs, not the wants, but the needs. And then, you know, there's a number of things, and I think Josh probably, we had numerous discussions about those, but, you know, the question is, do you continue to have 4 elementary schools, or do you have 1 or 2? And, you know, and you have to start looking at things like that. And I think those are part of the discussion that need to be had, but I think you tackle it one, I mean, I think you're gonna have to have about several months worth. And I think from a sales perspective, if those are informative meetings, I think you're gonna have a lot better showing the public that we're spending time on it, we're doing
Lots
it.
of education.
It's easier for me to say that too, since I'm not gonna be here to sit through all those, but.
I think that would be part of the process when we sit down with them. I mean, when we identify how we're going to do it, that would be part of the process. Last time I talked to him anyway was, how do you identify, well, what do we need, what are obviously public things and those things.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, your thoughts on doing it just regular meeting, or have a special meeting with that? I think,
I think what Greg has pointed out is that if you do it special, you're gonna bracket it saying,
Yeah.
this is important enough,
Yeah.
that we're gonna put the extra time.
I think you're gonna have to, because of the time it's gonna take.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Special.
Okay. I will start that process, and the first one will be Wednesday evening. These guys that are quite
Any day after July 1st.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I will start that process, and we'll come up with that. But I'm excited about it. I think we're going to see some good things coming out.
We'll put Greg in charge of the public lead now. Since
There you
he'll be
go.
on the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a good choice, I just lost an election. So.
All right, and the Washington surplus property, we're wanting to sell 1,000 Dell 520 laptops for $3 each.
That's Washington, and we've been disposing of things as needed. Every school has more than they care to have. I know there's going to be things that are tossed as we go through, some sold, but what we need to do is approve a general statement that we will dispose of the surplus property at Washington in the best manner possible or something. I don't know how that'll be worded, but to that effect. And then the lecture hall seating, when Rusty does that project, all those seats will come out. I cannot imagine anybody wanting to buy any of those, so they would probably be, I don't know if you could take them to salvage or just,
We done a project similar to that in Scott. We done a project similar to that in Scott at Gymnasium where we replaced seating in the gym and it didn't sell. I mean, there was a few people come and got it and hauled it off, but most of it was just thrown away and eventually sent it to a construction harbor. So what I was gonna do is, I don't care, we put something out, it's gonna be coming out these days, if you wanna come pick it up, come grab it. It would save us the cost of taking it to the refuge and whatever's left. we
Do you
keep
have
it
dates
all.
that stuff might be out for the
Yeah,
general
I
public
will
to get?
have those dates and I'll give them to,
Haze Daily.
there you go.
Haze Post,
I'll give them to Sarah and then she can get them to the appropriate people.
classifieds, next section, just anywhere, just get it out there on
It's
a, on
coming
a,
out, and these will be the dates.
you'd be surprised what people will come get for free.
Well, it's better at least if somebody can use it.
Yeah.
instead of-
Yeah, no, we'll try to do that to everything that we have. The laptop computers then at the elementary level, I think Brian did find somebody that would buy 1,000 of them for roughly $3 a piece.
Does he really think $3 is all he can get for those a piece?
That is
just
all.
seems extremely low. I mean, we have people ask about used and old laptops all the time. I mean, parting them out, you could make more money than that. That's the only reason I'm asking. That seems extremely low.
Yeah, I mean, we were gonna have them just disposed of, but
Behind them.
I don't know, Greg, who the company for that is, but, yeah,
Yeah, it's
by the
like I said,
labor we put in them, I don't know what it would be worth.
Oh, no, I'm saying, I mean,
No,
just selling them as is, and telling you there's no warranty, I would bet even putting them out to the general public, you get more than $3 a piece for them. So
Well, that may
something
be
like
something then we ask if they want them, or, the thing is, we need to get a certificate that they're been cleaned, wiped, and, so.
Okay. And then other discussion is the building site council reports, I read through those, I didn't see anything.
What my guess is, last year we had those folks come in the fall and visit with the school board, that'll probably be something, but we'll talk about that in July. If we
You're
wanna
you're not gonna have the reports next meeting?
have them come in?
Right.
No.
Okay, and then there is an executive session tonight, and we will, and our board attorney's here now, so we.
Both of them?
Did we need both of them up there tonight? But we'll go ahead and.
Assume that just
I think
means
Michael
you.
can go home.
You're the one guy?
Michael can go home and you'll get to stay. But I'll call an executive session to include the Board of Education, Mark Hoffman, Shannon Dinkle, Gene Katz, and the board attorney for a period of 30 minutes, and we will start at 7:25 and adjourn at 7:55.
Second.
The reason, Marty?
What's that? Negotiations.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Carried 6-0.